All I know is the end of the line. It's not good for Blake. This was not a win for Blake. This is a win for Justin. And it's a big win because this is a lot of what the case is about.
Blake Lively basically withdrew her claims of emotional distress caused by Justin Baldoni in her lawsuit. And Baldoni's team with Brian Friedman said, you can withdraw these claims, but you can't add them later on. So you have to withdraw them with prejudice, not without prejudice, because that means she can just add them on later. So this was the kind of the argument here, and also that Blake Lively's team said that Justin Baldoni's team is just using this opportunity to get more headlines and clicks in the media and blah, blah, blah.
Blake Lively's lawsuit was supposed to scorch Justin Baldoni. Instead, one savage demand for medical records has torched something far bigger: her decade-long friendship with Taylor Swift. According to fresh reports, Swift is ghosting Blake's frantic texts, while Blake is rebuilding a girl squad out of the ashes, minus the world's most famous pop star.
Revealing the exclusive source says, they're not as close as they were, but they're working on it. They're working towards being on good terms.
On May 15, 2025, Blake quietly asked the judge to erase her 2 headline-grabbing emotional distress counts. Yes, the very ones that used the word suffer 31 times. She tried to withdraw them without prejudice, legal shorthand for "I'll bring these back when they're convenient." Enter Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, Hollywood's favorite bulldog, who slammed on the brakes and said, "Not so fast, show us your therapy notes first."
Because it's completely irrelevant. You can't claim emotional stress, and she knows this. You don't do that kind of lawsuit unless you're prepared to reveal it all. That's how this works. And so for her to try to say, yeah, well, I'm distressed. Well, then they have every right to go check your history, your therapist's history, and say, well, is this something that was happening to you prior? So it's completely relevant. And yes, a big win for Justin. Blake lost this one.
One motion, one HIPAA waiver demand, and the panic button lit up. Up until that motion, Blake still had Taylor on speed dial. They'd been inseparable since 2015. Beach trips, godmother duties, cameos in each other's Instagram fairy tales. But once Swift's name appeared on a subpoena list, the sisterhood snapped.
Alleged. This is coming in from the Daily Mail, but they've been correct on some of this Taylor Swift story already. It seems Taylor can't come to the phone right now because she's dead. No, because she's just ignoring you, Blake. Because in a dramatic new blow for Swift's ex-best friend, her text calls and emails to the singer are going unanswered. An insider has exclusively revealed, even though Taylor has totally cut ties with her, Blake hasn't with Taylor. Source told the Daily Mail. She's been reaching out to her with texts, voicemails, and even emails, begging to mend what they once had. Blake isn't giving up on trying to get her friendship with Taylor back on track. Taylor hasn't responded to any of Blake's pleas. She ignored all her groveling excuses. The missives explain there must be some misunderstanding on Taylor's part and that she'd never do anything to harm their 10 years of closeness on personal secrets. Oh, well then why did you try?
Sources now claim Taylor distanced herself, and Blake, bristling with what insiders call bitterness, has started recruiting a new inner circle. Gigi Hadid, Salma Hayek, Emily Blunt, Florence Welch, even Carly Kloss, a one-time Swift confidante. The message is unsubtle. If Taylor won't stand beside her in court, Blake will prove she doesn't need America's sweetheart to stay an A-lister. Friedman's countermove was simple. No medical records, no withdrawal. That forced Blake to choose between privacy and credibility. She blinked first. By trying to yank the claims without handing over evidence, she looked like she'd built a case on air. Worse, the step practically screamed, "There's nothing in those files I want a jury or the internet to see." Overnight, the emotional distress storyline evaporated, and so did the sympathy it generated. 3 weeks later, Judge Louis Lyman formalized the carnage. The distress claims were dead, with prejudice, meaning they're never coming back. Trial is now set for March 2026, and Blake must tackle it without the most dramatic pillar of her lawsuit. Friedman celebrated by filing the order in open court, ensuring TMZ, Variety, and yes, Taylor's group chat got copies before the ink dried. Here's where the plot twists from legal thriller to reality TV. The very week Blake ditched her distress counts, glossy puff pieces popped up describing her as sunshine on set. Meanwhile, Radar Online blasted out exclusives about Blake's new squad, minus Taylor plus a roster of reliable A-listers. One insider quipped, "Her new girl squad may not be packed with pop stars, but it's real, and that's what she needs right now." Translation: if I can't beat you with court filings, I'll beat you on page 6. But the timing felt less like reinvention and more like damage control. When your medical records stay sealed and your best friend stays silent, a fresh selfie with Gigi Hadid looks suspiciously like a smoke bomb. The legal tremors have rattled more than friendships. Blake's hair care line, Blake Brown, is spiraling. 2025 revenue projections just slipped below $15 million, an 85% nosedive. Discount practices are under FTC scrutiny. Target shoppers are returning bottles in droves, and the clean beauty narrative is fraying. Investors loathe uncertainty. Studio execs loathe lawsuits. When your brand sinks at the same pace as your legal footing, even a Vogue cover can't plug the leak. With the emotional distress crutch gone, Baldoni's camp is dusting off a defamation countersuit. If filed, Discovery will pry open every PR memo Blake's team sent to the tabloids, exactly the receipts she doesn't want public. The threat alone shifts leverage: settle quietly or risk a second courtroom bloodletting. Friedman has already previewed the angle. If you smear my client in People magazine, expect us to read those drafts aloud to the jury. Hollywood memory is short, but its blacklists are long. Casting directors now factor Blake's liability index, an informal calculus of press volatility, audience sentiment, and insurance premiums. Would you anchor a $100 million rom-com to someone whose star meter drops every time a docket update pings? Taylor Swift's silence amplifies that doubt. If America's biggest brand strategist won't back you, studios ask, why should we? For Taylor, self-preservation is its own art form. She runs a billion-dollar tour, a film studio partnership, and the NFL's off-season search engine traffic. Dragging her into depositions was a non-starter, so she did the simplest, most brutal thing: nothing. Ignored texts, deleted voicemails, changed entourage seating charts. Blake's camp calls it betrayal. Taylor's inner circle calls it boundary setting. Either way, the pop icon's refusal to play the game left Blake fending for herself, and she's responding by collecting new allies like trading cards, partly for comfort, partly for optics. The trial clock is ticking, but the bigger danger for Blake is a drip-drip erosion of public trust. Every time she smiles on a red carpet, Twitter overlays the photo with court date memes. Every real friend she flaunts invites side-by-side comparisons to the old squad. And if Baldoni files that defamation suit, the discovery phase will expose emails, diary drafts, maybe even the texts Taylor never replied to. In the end, one subpoena turned a private friendship into collateral damage. A single demand for medical records detonated the heart of a lawsuit, and a Hollywood A-lister who once seemed bulletproof is now dodging shrapnel from every direction: legal, personal, and PR. When evidence vanishes, friendships fracture, and your best defense is a hastily assembled revenge squad, the spotlight isn't just harsh, it's fatal. Blake Lively's next moves will decide whether she stages a heroine's comeback or becomes a cautionary meme about letting lawsuits write your biography. Stay tuned, because if the receipts finally surface, medical or otherwise, the real show hasn't even started. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chapter in Hollywood's messiest modern feud.